So here are some reminders as you're developing your work plan. Sometimes councils come together and you have some really significant issues that concern you. One of the things I've heard a number of councils speak to are their concerns around the inadequacy of housing, for example, for adults with developmental disability. Housing that is affordable, that is secure, that is available. I've heard councils talk about the many things that get in the way of adults with developmental disabilities accessing what little stock there is in their communities because of the stigma of developmental disability or the concern that people have around will these folks receive adequate support and so on and so forth. As you think about what the issues are that concern you, as you think about what the goals are that you want to work towards and the strategies that will help you get there, I'd like to remind you to think about how big a goal you're going for. I'm always a bit concerned when we set our sights on very large and overwhelming goals that feel like, well, maybe in the next 10 years we'll see difference. And then there's not very much opportunity to have some sense of momentum and success. So I'm not suggesting you abandon those very important concerns that you may be bringing to the council table. I am suggesting that as you think about them, tease them out so that you set a goal that over the next 2 or 3 years, over the next 3 or 4 months, you have a sense of what it is that's possible to do. Yes, it's a bit of a reach, but you want to make sure that it fits within the time that council members have to offer and the energy that people have to give. Again, my experience in sitting with people around the community council table, is that most of you have very full lives. You're involved in many different things, and you come with a great sense of passion and a sense of mission. But if the work becomes too big, it becomes disheartening. You end up spending a lot of time at meetings talking about what you'll do, but no real sense of gaining momentum. So avoid that particular trap by setting your sights on goals that are doable, within your reach, that will push you a bit, but where you have a sense of how you'll look for activities that will get you there and how you'll have a sense of what you'll accept as evidence that you have achieved that goal. Well, I guess one of the other tips I would share is it's a good idea as you're doing your council plans to not have 15 goals, because that's really wide and far spread and will pull you in many different directions, and yet to have more than one. I think it's useful to think about the idea that council comes together to identify the goals, the strategies, to look at what you'll accept as evidence, set the timelines and all of that. But there are likely other people in the community who can help you do some of the work to move forward on achieving that goal. So, for example, some councils are very successful in using committees to do some of the work. Others may not call it a formal committee, but have been somewhat successful in recruiting other people they know who are in the community, who aren't members of council, who can help you move forward. So that's another way to think about it, is as you identify goals, you actually don't have to be able to cover off all the work amongst the people sitting around the table, but rather think about who you know, how you can recruit others to work on this goal. And of course, are there other allies, possible partners? So for example, as you're looking at how to address some of the barriers to feeling like you belong in community, as you're looking to address why some people end up feeling so lonely and isolated in their communities, perhaps it's not only an issue that adults with developmental disabilities are facing. Perhaps there are older adults in your community who are having the same kinds of thoughts. Perhaps there are family members of people who are living in the community with mental illness who are looking at how loneliness impacts isolation, keeping people from feeling welcome and having a sense of belonging in their communities. Perhaps you can begin to have conversations with some of those folks about whether there are some things you have in common. Not everything. You may not always use the same language. Your goals may look slightly different. But could you, in working together, do some things better together than apart or separately?